Okay, this video is going to be a whistle-stop tour through the basics of using Flash to create animations. Later on, when we come to using Flash for some interactivity and using ActionScript coding, we're going to be using ActionScript 2.0, so I find it helpful to just get in the habit of creating ActionScript 2.0 documents. So under the Create New menu, when you open up Flash, just choose ActionScript 2. What we have here, this area here is called the stage, where all of the action of our animations is going to happen, and up here we've got the timeline. I'm going to double click and rename my layer to background, and I'm just going to say I'm going to create some fields. So the way that I'm going to create sort of some green hills, if you will, and then I'm going to add a blue sky. So I've set up to create some green ovals with a green fill, no outline around them. And so I'm just going to sort of click and drag those over the area to the bottom of my screen. Now I don't need to worry about the fact that it looks all bulgy and silly underneath, because the only area that you will see in your animation is the stage. If I press Control and Enter now, you can see that I'm only seeing that top part of the, sort of the hill effect there, and obviously you can spend a bit more time getting your hills looking just the way you want them to. I'm going to go to Modify Document and choose a blue background colour so that then that will appear as the sky. Something a bit paler than that. There we go. So the background colour isn't part of any layer at all, that's just added as a background, and now those hills are going to form my background layer. Because I don't want to animate those hills, they want to stay in the same place, I'm not going to put anything else on that layer. And because I'm not going to make any further adjustments to that layer, I'm going to click here to lock the layer under this padlock symbol here. That means that when I'm trying to work with other things on my document later on, if I accidentally click and drag, it's not going to pick up those hills, they're not going to move. Now I'm actually going to create something to animate, so I'm going to right click, I'm going to choose Insert Layer, and I'm going to call it bee. Now I could do this in two different ways. If I had a picture of a bee that I already wanted to use, I could go to File, Import, Import to Stage, and then I could find in my Documents area a picture of a bee that I wanted to use. Okay. So if you want to include any pre-existing pictures in your animation, that's how to do it. You go to File, Import, and Import to Stage. Shouldn't normally be that slow. As it happens, I don't have a picture of a bee to hand, so I'm just going to very, very quickly make something that's going to sort of resemble a bee. So I'm going to go to Insert New Symbol. It's going to be a graphic. I'm going to call it bee. So what happens when you go to create a symbol is you get your own timeline, your own set of layers. This is not by any stretch of the imagination going to be an impressive bee. You can obviously spend much longer on getting your pictures to look just the way that you would like them. Can't reach the thing to change the brush size at the moment. There we go. So if you pull your toolbar out, you can change the size and the shape of your brush there. So I'm just going to get a bigger brush so I can create maybe some stripes. And you can see that Flash actually applies smoothing to your brush strokes. So as I paint there, whoops, the lines are looking a bit sort of wobbly and rubbish when I originally draw them, but then Flash applies the smoothing so they come out a lot sort of crisper. And you can change the amount that Flash will smooth your lines by changing this number over here between 0, no smoothing, and 100, which is a lot of smoothing. Okay, so as I said, it's not an impressive bee. You can do better when it's you. When you've finished your bee or whatever you're creating, go back to scene 1, and you'll need to now view your library and click and drag your bee onto the stage. I'm going to press Ctrl T to transform size by 50% so it's much smaller. So I have a bee, and I can now make that bee move around by applying a tween. So what I'm going to do is I want my animation to be 60 frames long. So both of my layers will have to be 60 frames long. So insert frame. I'm only inserting a frame on the background, not a keyframe, because my background isn't going to change throughout the duration of the animation. On the B layer, however, my B layer is going to change throughout the duration of my animation, so I'm going to right click and insert a keyframe. On the first frame of my animation, the B is going to be here. On the last frame of my animation, I want it to be over here. So I'm going to click on the last frame of my animation and move the B over here. And all I need to do is right click in between the two frames, and I'm going to choose Create Classic Tween. What you'll see now is when I press Ctrl and Enter to view my animation, that the bee can fly across the stage. Just another type of tween I wanted to show you quickly, I'll show you in a new document, is that you're not restricted to making things move, you can also make things change shape. So just a very, very quick example, because making the bee was quite a complicated example. It doesn't need to be that complicated. If, for example, I've got a black circle here on frame 50, I'm going to insert a keyframe because by the time we get to frame 50 I want it to be something else. So on frame 50, I'm going to transform and I'm going to make it 250% of the size that it is at the moment. So much, much bigger, and I'm going to change the fill colour. Then between these two shapes on the timeline, I'm going to choose to create a shape tween. And what you'll see when you press Ctrl and Enter to view that animation is you'll see the shape growing and changing colour. You could of course have something growing and shrinking again by adding another keyframe afterwards. So there you have it. We have looked at some motion tweens and some shape tweens, and we've looked at using layers to keep your animation organised. So I hope this video was helpful.